morning to all viewers. Thank you very much for the participation today. We have seen a very good response for the participation. Let me introduce myself. I am MS Shabir. I'm the CEO of Sensei's Financial Services. We are SEBI registered investment advisors and provide advisory services and products only which are Sharia compliant. So we are 100% Sharia compliant advisors. That's what it is. For a long time, we have been talking about some of these products and what we can do for especially for NGOs. So some time back, I had requested CA Karishma make some kind of opportunities. What are the opportunities available and how we can guide the NGOs? So we had prepared a paper as to what is the kind of investment that the NGOs can do under Section 11.5. Am I right, Krishna? Under
yes,
Section
sir.
11.5. So we had prepared a paper giving some guidelines as to what NGOs can do in terms of investment of the surplus amount instead of specified securities, and in the what are the products which are opportunities which are available, especially on ethical investment opportunities for NGOs. That was the purpose why we prepared that paper and sent it. Let me introduce CA Karishma. Karishma is a chartered accountant. She's a gold medalist. She has spent quite a good time trying to teach and produce new chartered accountants. She has got followers of about 500, more than 500. I think the number has gone up now. Students who have all become qualified with her teaching. She's specialized in taxation, and then she's gone into the practice. She's a practitioner, and her focus area has been the NGOs, especially. She herself is a very good social worker, very active, try to help these SMEs and the NGOs in getting the results, or a lot of changes in the taxation and the budgets now, especially for the NGOs. So let's look into first what the NGOs are. A rough estimate, I don't know what is the exact figure, but from what I have found out is that there are, as on 2018, there were 3 million NGOs, 3 million NGOs. So if you look at the 26 or 28 states that we have and divide it, it rounds out to something like about 31 lakh NGOs in each state on an average. What is an NGO? An NGO could be any kind of an organization which is not a government organization, which may get some aid from the government, but not necessarily. Why did the NGOs come into the picture? The NGOs have come into the picture because the government was not able to provide social security kind of things, especially into education and medical health, etc. So it could be in the form of any entity. It could be in the form of trust. It could be in the form of society. It could be in the form of Section 8 company. And most of them are unorganized. Most of them are unorganized. They have got own problems, like they do not have a strategic planning. Most of them get the funding from within the community or from outside. There's no regular income. The human resources are very rare. People come for small projects, short projects, and then there's no certainty. The incentives are not there for their employees. The skills are not there to look into the accounting and other things. Political interference is there. So these are some of the kind of, but they have been doing a human service for the society, for the humanity. And that's where it is. Over a period of last 4 years, we have seen that the government has been trying to come out with new regulations, updation. For example, I don't remember, but I think 2022 or 21, they canceled some of the NGOs which were not active. Then there are many regulations which have come, which has changed the complete scenario of the NGOs. But there is very little awareness of what they should do and what they should not do. In my own personal experience, I have seen that some of the CAs are also not taking this problem seriously because there's a large community which has been there and they have been doing the work. The NGO executives themselves are not aware of it. It is the responsibility of the chartered accountants who are filing the returns that they should guide them, but that also does not happen. So the whole idea of today's webinar is to create an awareness both among the professionals and more so among the executives of the NGOs, so that they can, they can tighten their belts and then see and face the challenges which are coming forward. The urgency, the urgency was that before the financial year ending, before 31st March, if we can give some insight into the amendments which have come, that may help at least the NGOs to correct themselves before it is too late. With this small introduction, I would ask Karishma to take it up and then just give a brief as to what is first. Can you just give a brief as to what are the types of NGOs? For example, in my little understanding, I find that trusts, societies, companies in the section 8 are NGOs. But apart from that, this number does not include some of the trade unions, etc. Am I right? Now, some of them may be registered, some of them may not be registered. So who are we trying to address in these NGOs? Can you just give a little brief?
Yes, sir. Very good morning, all the participants, and Shabir sir, thank you so much for such a warm introduction. I am grateful for this introduction. Yes, sir, the initiative was very much needed. This webinar was needed. The reason being, when we are guiding our NGOs, the stakeholders, the executives, ultimately what happens is the workload is shared between us and them. Okay, so this kind of awareness event is very much needed. And as you asked me the first question, like whom are we trying to address? Okay, so now very important when we are talking about charitable organizations, the income tax department, the government has given a very clear picture that if you want exemption for your charities, then the correct route for you is to get registered under 12A. Okay, so these amendments that we are discussing are for basically those NGOs which are registered under 12A as and holding this income tax exemption. So then you would ask me, what about the other NGOs who are not holding a 12A registration? Are they exempt? Answer is no, they are not exempt. They are pushing their IT return under ITR 5, which is basically for, association of persons who are doing some kind of commercial activity. And the way the income gets taxed under that ITR is totally different, just like a commercial entity. It is not like the charitable entity. Okay, so right now the focus of the government is everybody who's doing charity, with irrespective of the threshold limit. If your gross receipts are more than 2,50,000 rupees, then the only route that is shown by the government of India is the 12A route. Okay, so this is how it is. For the schools and all, there's a different scenario. We are not addressing that in this webinar right now. Schools and medical institutions, it's almost parallel, but there are certain relaxations for them. No need of registration, no need of audit, up to 5 crores of gross receipts. Yes, sir.
शबीर साहब आप म्यूट पे हैं, प्लीज अनम्यूट कीजिए. शबीर साहब आप म्यूट पे हैं.
Sorry. Can you hear me now? Yeah. I have one question. The general understanding is there are two types. There are two, as exemptions which are given. One is under Section 12A for the NGOs where their income is not taxable. The other is for the donors under ATG. This is a general kind of a understanding which is there. Now, does it mean this 12A which is there a threat to the exemptions under 12A? This is what I wanted to cover. Two is that under ATG, probably there is no, what are the changes which have come? Is there, because I remember I have a small NGO myself, a trust, a family trust, where I remember my chartered accountant has said that you need to put the amount in the corpus, and the corpus amount cannot be utilized. It cannot be applied for the beneficiaries. Now that was a shock for me, because initially I started with a small corpus which had grown up, and I thought that the corpus would be utilized. Two is another experience which I got again later on is that surplus amount, 85% of the amount is to be utilized within the year, whatever collections are made. And 15% is what is something surplus amount which can be invested under Section 11.5. Most of them, when I asked most of the other NGOs, they have not invested, but they are keeping into the current account, or they are keeping surplus amount in excess of 15%. So does it mean that there is some kind of a penalty which comes in if they are not following the 15% limit? One. Two is more people do not do the networking and try to understand. They create the NGOs, but they do not understand how it works. Can you give a little light on that?
Yes, sir. So basically now what you have asked is a very correct question. The government is saying that earlier in the past, the charities were the most less regulated, because the government thought that the charitable organizations are doing a noble work, so we don't have to monitor them. And it was the most liberal regulation. If you see last 2-3 decades, there are very few provisions, but last 4 years, if you see, there are amendments continuously happening. Okay, so keeping that in mind, the government is giving a clear message that if you want to enjoy exemption, it is not free of cost. Your exemption is subject to compliances. Your exemption is subject to regulations. How you use the public money, how you raise the corpus, where do you keep it, how to keep it, everything is regulated. Okay, and if we are not, we will be addressing those regulations as I start my presentation. And if we are not complying with those regulations, what is the plan of the government? So now basically the NGOs and the professionals who are catering to this compliance, they have to understand that now everything has to be put under different buckets, sir. One is like, if I do this, will my exemption get cancelled? This is one scenario. Okay, losing the exemption is one scenario. Okay, then another one is losing the registration is another scenario. In some cases, registration is there, exemption is not there. In some cases, exemption is not there, registration is also not there. And third scenario, they are saying that we will split your activities and income into different buckets, and we will give some portion will be exempt and some portion will be subject to taxability. Again, to tax it, they have 3 different buckets. They're saying either we will tax you at 30% without giving you any deduction. Another bucket, they're saying we will tax you at 30%, but we will give you some deductions. Another bucket, they're saying we will tax you at normal rates. So now there is a combination of what is happening, and lot of gray area is there. A very dedicated and need-based approach is needed. So this webinar basically can only help us like a trailer to understand, okay, this is the trigger point, this is the trigger point, and this is the trigger point. But what is needed after that, if a particular NGO feels that I fall under this category, I'm doing a business. Now, what kind of business am I doing? Is it my main business, or is it incidental, or it is a commercial activity altogether? So they have to go approach their professional, seek an opinion in writing, asking, this is what I'm doing, what is the impact of this transaction, will I lose my exemption, or will I lose my registration, or how is the tax going to be there? Most of the NGOs are under the impression that they are all tax free, they're exempt entities, but please understand, this is no more the scenario. The government has come up with a hybrid model for you. They are planning to take taxes from you. So we have to do something called risk assessment. We need to do a legal risk assessment. I am standing as a charitable entity. What is the legal risk that I carry because of violations? So you have to be prepared for that. You have to quantify that legal risk and take a stand and try to rectify that situation by having a proper discussion with the professionals. This is the need of the hour, sir. Over to you, sir.
So the first shock that you started by giving us is that it's not free. Nothing is free. There's no free lunch, and there's no free NGO. We need to start, paying for it. How to pay, how much to pay, when to pay, how to avoid it. This is what we want to hear from you. So can you briefly tell us what are the amendments which have come, so that everybody puts their ears and eyes on the screen to find out what is there for them? Please go.
Yes, sir. Okay, to start off with, sir, before I jump into the amendments, I just want the participants to get an idea and get into, the flow of the discussion. See, now, this slide is talking about the episodes, how the amendments have changed. We have budget 2020. Then 21 came up with some amendments, 22 came up with some amendments, 23 came up with some amendments. So piecemeal, the government is releasing, they have this Pandora box, it's like a mystery box, and they're trying to give these amendments to us. And what is the kind of amendment? They're both positive and negative. they are trying to say we want 100% transparency from all the NGOs who are doing good work, and they're giving a very clear message that all those who have been using NGO as only a vehicle to do money laundering, that you cannot continue to do that. So we have mixed a kind of amendments. But my only concern as a person who's also participating with our NGOs into social work and as a professional, my pain is how do you think the small NGOs are going to handle this load of provisions? What is the support the government is going to give? And how are the professionals prepared to help these small NGOs? Because now I personally feel as a chartered accountant, the assurance services of certifying the NGOs has become very risky from this particular year, sir. And before I start the amendments of 2023, I just want, because for people to get into the flow, there is one important thing that I wanted to clarify. Why are we discussing all the amendments at one place? Why are we trying to connect the dots from 20 to 23? The reason being, sir, we are all standing in the month of March 23, and this is a very crucial month for us to do annual closure of the books of accounts of the NGOs for financial year 22-23. Okay, once the books are closed, then it will be submitted for audit, and the chartered accountants have to get up, pull up their socks to the new audit report. Okay, and this audit report is definitely a shock for all of us, sir. My participants also might be aware that last 10 days this audit report has been published, and people are looking at it, and everybody is postponing. Oh my God, this is a huge report. Let us do clause by clause analysis one day. Okay, so I hope that one day is today. So this audit report, I think more than 2 decades, sir, this audit report was very simple. 10B, what we used to certify, we used to enjoy doing it. Unlike the commercial entities, that's a very elaborate audit report. This was a most simple one. But what is the shock that has come now? So government is now saying for all the organizations, okay, whether you call yourself charitable, religious, educational, you're a fund or a medical institution, you have to select, the CA has to select one of this form. Okay, one is form 10B and the other one is form 10BB. We need to select one of them. Okay, which one will apply depends upon this criteria. Basically 10B is for the big NGO. Okay, how do you decide that the NGO is big? If your gross receipts are more than 5 crore, what you collect. And gross receipts is again a very big word. Okay, this you have to sit, discuss with your professional what all can come under this, your capital receipts, your voluntary contributions, your corpus donations, everything. General donations, the project grant, the government grant, the income from other source, the incidental receipts, the business receipts. So what all can come in the scope of gross receipts is a very big word. Okay, so we have to find out if that amount is crossing 5 crores, then the audit report to be selected is 10B. Okay, or there's another criteria. Let's say the gross receipt is not 5 crore, it's hardly 1 crore or 2 crore. But that entity is registered under FCRA. Okay, and it is receiving foreign contribution. Then once again, the audit report would be 10B. Or none of these two conditions are there. Okay, neither it is a big NGO, no 5 crores, and it has not received any foreign contribution, but it has applied its income outside India. Okay, so this is again a very important point. Now, recently we have seen this earthquake which has hit, and many NGOs have volunteered to send the relief outside India. So how do you do it? You are supposed to take in approval from the CBDT when you want to do something like that. You raise the fund here in India, you're an NGO here in India, but you go and apply it outside India. It is highly regulated thing. So if you're doing something like this, then the audit report for you is 10B. In any other cases, so if I don't fall under these cases, then I have to select a smaller version, which is 10BB. Okay, so now look at this. Am I audible, sir? Am I audible?
Yes, very clear.
Okay, okay.
Very clear.
Yes. No, now I just wanted to show one small, a summary before we go further into the audit report. because to put a stage for the amendments, this is very much needed. The NGO stakeholders, the accountants, and also our colleagues from our fraternity, please understand, I'm sure you must have gone through, but look at this. The old audit report, we only said, we used to certify, the scope of certification was whether the accounts, the balance sheet, the income and expenditure show true and fair view. Okay, this is what we used to certify. But now in the new audit report, what they are asking is along with certification of true and fair view of the balance sheet and income and expenditure, they're also added another additional scope. And look at the language of this additional scope. It says true and correct. So they are saying the annexure which is there, you need to certify whether that annexure, the details that have been reported, disclosed in that annexure, whether it is true and correct, you need to certify. Okay, so this word correct is very dangerous, because NGO matters, charity matters are very subjective. There is no hard and fast rule, and there is so much of gray area in it. So this is little scary for us. Now, are we all ready to give 100% declaration something is true and correct? Because see, all these days, if you ask me, this burden was on the NGO stakeholders. The IT return which was filed by them, it had most of this data, and they used to declare it. They used to make a statutory declaration, say, in that IT return. But now the burden is shifted to the chartered accountant, who has to certify that the annexure is true and correct. So how many of us are comfortable to do this? And what kind of management representation are we going to take in this area? Are we ready with the documentation aspect? So this requires a one-to-one serious discussion with each auditee that we are going to handle. This is the need of the hour. The reason being, see, now look at it, sir. Number of clauses in the audit report, the old one, we hardly had 16 clauses. And now the new audit report, which is there, 10B, okay, for the big NGOs, there are 49 clauses in it. See the load, from 3 to 4 pages, we immediately move to about 24 pages. And the smaller version, 10BB, is got 32 clauses. And number of schedules. In the old audit report, there was only one schedule that we used to fill and upload it as part of the annexure. But now in 10B, we are filling up 29 schedules. And 10BB, there are 6 schedules. Sorry, there in the presentation, it is written as clauses. It is actually schedules, 29 schedules and 6 schedules. Okay, so this is the impact. So we will go to this analysis of audit report a little later. But before I wanted to proceed with the amendments, I just wanted to take you to the seriousness of this webinar. Why are we doing it so seriously? So much of reporting is nothing but the climax of these amendments. So what we are going to certify and report for financial year 22-23 is actually a climax for all the amendments which had come from 20 to 23. So it's very important that we need to connect the dots to understand and do the annual closing and audit compliance properly for financial year 22-23. And the defects, if there are defects and we fail to do it, those defects are not curable. It would be a hit on the pocket of the NGO. So are we ready to take so much of risk? Is that we have to take a call on that. Okay, so that's the reason the seriousness of this entire webinar is connect the dots, sit, discuss, see the implication. Do not wait. Another important point which I wanted to tell you is normally we start the audit somewhere in the month of August, September, October. I think for this financial year, keeping in mind the seriousness of this audit report, it would be too late to start the audits during the season. So we all have to start working right now, maybe from tomorrow, on this matter. Okay, so shall we start with the amendments then?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. Yes. Now, amendments are for small areas. Okay, so now see, look at this. We are discussing corpus donation here. And I have put 2 columns in my presentation. One is 21 and one is 23. Now, what does that signify? It means some amendment had come in 21 And then another amendment just came now, 23, the recent finance bill which has come, it is that one. So then you may get a doubt, what about 22? Okay, yeah, in 22, there was a section which was talking about how to tax it. Okay, if there is a violation, how to tax it, that has come in 22. Okay, we will discuss it little later. So now the first area, corpus donation. Okay, you can stop me if you find me, rushing, or I can repeat something if required. Okay, now corpus donation. Now, basically, when it comes to understanding the accounting, auditing, taxation of NGOs, a little bit of shift in mindset is needed. Okay, so now, what do you mean by corpus donation? We all know it is like, the donor is giving some amount to the NGO and giving a specific direction that this is for the corpus of the NGO. Now, when he's giving a direction like that, what does it mean? It means that do not end up using it generally. Okay, don't simply finish it off. Keep it as a permanent capital for the NGO. This is what it means. And we also know that many times, good people who are philanthropists, when they start their NGO, they pump in their own fund. They keep on putting their own corpus because they know by the time the NGO launches its activity and it gets a good public image, right from day one, nobody gets general donations from public at large. Okay, so the stakeholders, the founders, the promoters, they all try to start off the NGO's activity with the corpus donation, which is basically a permanent kind of fund. And later on, they feel when we launch it publicly, whenever we get general donations, the public will take care of this charitable work. But initially, they put the fund. That is one aspect of corpus, which is coming with a specific direction that this is a kind of permanent capital. Okay, the second aspect of corpus donation is every year we start saving that 15%. Government has allowed the NGOs to save up to 15%. So what we keep on saving, that 15, that also gets added as a surplus to the corpus. Okay, this is how the corpus is created. There are other 2-3 mechanisms of creating it. So now, what is the taxability of corpus? First important point that all of us should remember that corpus is a capital receipt. It is not something which is hitting our income and expenditure. We are not calling it as income of the organization. Okay, income is general donations, but corpus is not income. It is going and sitting in the balance sheet. Okay, now the very important question. What is the taxman telling? He is saying that from the financial year 21-22, that is the last year which we closed, this corpus for your accounting purpose may go and sit in the balance sheet, but for me, for income tax purpose, I will call it as income. Okay, the taxman is saying it is called as income. Okay, now when it is called as income, is the taxman asking us to spend it? No. They're saying this is permanent amount. It has to be required for the NGO's net worth, its balance sheet. It should not be spent. Then what should I do? So they're saying to enjoy exemption for this corpus amount, please invest it in the modes which are specified in 11.5. This is very much needed. You have to keep it, you have to retain it, you have to hold it. Don't end up using it. Keep it in the form of the safe assets which are listed in 11.5. This is what the law is saying. Okay, now does it mean we cannot touch it? No, you have to touch it. See, sometimes I'll tell you, there are some NGOs who get a grant as a reimbursement. Okay, like government grants are there. The government is saying first you spend the money, then you come and take a reimbursement from me. So in a financial year, I have to run my project. So I have to spend. So from where should I spend it? I will end up touching my corpus. So you will touch your corpus and you will spend it. So the law, again, the taxman is saying, if you spend out of your corpus, I will not give you the benefit of spending. Okay. So clear point is, first one, it is income. If you don't want it to be taxed, you should keep it in the investment mode specified in 11.5. You can still use it for running your project, but don't ask, claim a deficit from the government. Government is not going to treat it as application now. When will they give me the benefit of application? I ended up using my corpus. Next year, the government grant is coming. So what will I do with the government grant? Obviously, I will say that before this grant came, I had spent money out of my corpus thinking that tomorrow I will get a reimbursement. So when you're getting a reimbursement, what will you do? You will go and put it back in the corpus. So now the taxman is saying, when you touched the corpus, I did not give you the benefit of application. But when you go and put it back in the corpus, that time I will give you the benefit of application. Okay, so now when should I put it back into the corpus? Can I do it after 10 years? Can I do it after 15 years? They're saying be serious about it. The budget 23 came up with a time limit. They said this is the time limit. We can allow you to claim it as application if you put it back at least within 5 years, not beyond 5 years. So we need to keep a track now. This is very important. Now, notes to accounts of an NGO cannot just be an income and expenditure balance sheet. We need to have a proper schedule for corpus. When did this corpus originate? Because the amendments came from 21 onwards. So the old corpus prior to 21, the scenario was different. How do you handle the old corpus? What if I go and put my old corpus back? Will I get benefit? No, no, no. You already got a benefit for the old corpus. Old corpus prior to 21 was a free corpus. It was unconditionally exempt. So if you're going and putting something back into it, you won't get double benefit. So what to do with old corpus? One schedule. But the new corpus which is coming, that is another schedule. And new corpus, which one? The one which somebody is donating as corpus donation to you with a specific direction is subject to all the conditions. Your own self-generated corpus, like 21, 22, that 15% surplus is a free fund again. So nobody is bothering you with that. Please understand, these conditions are not universally hitting each and every corpus amount. So you need to put a bucket again, the old corpus, the corpus of 21, 22, and the specific donations received from some people as corpus. Each and everything has a separate regulation. Okay, so this is what they're saying about corpus. And once again, this entire schedule, whatever we are going to report here, is having an implication in the detailed audit report. The entire corpus schedule, which our fraternity had seen last year in the form of IT return, is now part of the audit report. Okay, so there are disclosures for it. You're certifying it. And when there is a violation here, you're not putting it in the mode under 11.5. It is resulting into taxability. So be prepared how to handle the violation of this. Now coming to the next one. Once again. Okay, now next area. Now, again, a situation is there where the project is not having an immediate income. The donor said, the grant agency said, we will give it to you as a reimbursement. You start. So what will the members do now? The committee will take loan. You know, they are all funding the operations. They are giving it as a loan. And out of that loan, the project expenses are incurred. And later on, the government grant is coming as a reimbursement. So what is the law telling? Once again, this loan is a capital receipt. When you use the loan, don't ask for benefit of application. Any expenditure incurred out of the loan will not be treated as application. Right now, we won't give you the benefit. You have spent it, fine. Then you will say, when will I get benefit? I've already spent. I have used my loan. When will I get the benefit? Whenever you're repaying the loan, that time you will get the benefit. So again, we need a special schedule for handling these loans. Okay, then again, next question. Is there any time limit for repayment of loan? Yes, there is a time limit of 5 years. You cannot say, I will keep on, prolong it, park it in the balance sheet. Because see, this shows the seriousness. If something is parked beyond 5 years, the government is looking at it, with a doubtful approach. Why is it outstanding for more than 5 years? And when we talk about loan, please remember all the provisions. If there is an interest on it, the interest should be subject to TDS. And if there are restrictions on the loan transactions, you're not supposed to take in cash, more than 20,000. The repayment aspect, all that is needed. The compliance is needed. And this reporting is there again in the audit report. So this loan, the budget 23 has added this point that it has to be repaid within 5 years for you to claim application benefit. Now coming to inter-charity donations. Okay, so what is inter-charity donations? We all know that many philanthropic people are having a group of NGOs. If you ask Mr. A, how many NGOs you are handling, he will say, I have 17 NGOs across India. I have 15 NGOs across India. Some people are saying like that. They don't limit themselves to one NGO. They have multiple NGOs. And if you ask them, how do you operate these NGOs? They will say one NGO will be a mother NGO. And this mother NGO is raising all the donation. It has its own goodwill, and also with that goodwill they're able to raise donations, and from there the mother NGO is again doing inter-charity donation to other NGOs, and those other NGOs are locally doing the charitable work. So a layered kind of functioning is happening. This is one scenario. A multi-layered NGOs are working. Second scenario, instead of multi-layered NGOs, we all know that the CSR laws have asked these big corporates to create, we see that there is something like HSBC Foundation, Tech Mahindra Foundation, or some big NGOs are there, where the CSR fund is coming from the corporate, and the big NGO, the foundation, is not directly spending money, but it has empaneled a lot of implementing agencies. So at transaction 1, the CSR grant is coming. Transaction 2, this CSR grant is going to the implementing agency. This is how inter-charity donations are working. Okay, what are the restrictions? Is there any limitation on this inter-charity donation? There are only 2 limitations in the past. First one, you can do inter-charity donation. The taxman is saying, go ahead, let one NGO take the money and give it to another NGO. Donate it, no problem. You're not able to use it for your activities. Let the other NGO use it. You donate it. But one condition they put is not towards the corpus. Okay, because see, in your books, in your IT return, you're claiming inter-charity donation as application. Because you're saying, I received 100 rupees, I gave this 100 rupees to my sister NGO, it is application for me, 100 came, 100 went, surplus is 0. This is what you are saying. But what if that amount is going to the sister NGO as a corpus? We know that corpus is an exempt amount if it is invested. So it is not spent. So, what is happening at one NGO, you're giving the benefit of application, but the other NGO is not spending it, but holding it as corpus, then charitable activity is not happening. So to put a cut on that, they're saying you give it to the other NGO, but ensure that it is not the corpus of that NGO. That means it is not a permanent fund of that NGO which has to be invested. It should be a general donation for the other NGO, which they can spend it. And second important point, we all know whenever we have a surplus more than 15%, we accumulate it by informing it to the department. Sir, this year I ended up having a surplus of 30%. I want to use it in my future. Please give me the benefit of accumulation. So the government is giving you accumulation. But now the taxman is saying, out of that accumulated amount, don't give it to another NGO. If you have asked for accumulation, you have to use that accumulation for your own activity. You cannot give it to another sister NGO, that accumulated amount. It has to be used and spent for your own charitable purpose. So these are the 2 old points. What are the 2 old points? One is it should not be given as a corpus to another NGO. And the source, from where am I giving this into charity? The source should not be your accumulated amount. Then what should be the source of this inter-charity donation? Again, a schedule is needed. See, simply do not create trouble. You also have to understand, I have my old corpus, the old one prior to 2021. I'm giving this inter-charity donation out of the old corpus. Then we don't even have to bother. It's neither an application. It won't come here. I took a loan and gave inter-charity donation. It won't come here. Okay, I have accumulations up to 15% of last year. I gave that as inter-charity donation. We don't care. The government is saying that you give, no problem. Then which inter-charity is restricted? These, out of my current year income, which I collected, which is my income, which I was supposed to spend. I did not spend it myself, but I gave it to a sister concern. That inter-charity is regulated. So when you're giving that inter-charity, ensure that it is not towards the corpus, and you should not use it from your accumulation. This is what they're saying. Now coming to 2023, the amendment which has come. Okay, see, now when you're looking at the amendments, please remember, this amendment is not going to affect our financial year 22-23. This amendment is going to affect from 1st April 23. So what does that mean? 1st April 23 means your financial year 23-24. From this year onwards, when you want to give inter-charity donation to another sister concern, remember, if you give 100 rupees, you will get a benefit of only 85 rupees. Okay, see, this is important now. What am I saying? Let me repeat. And many people, because they understand Urdu better, I would like to stress on this in Urdu. अगर आपका इदारा, आपका एनजीओ 1 लाख रुपए लेता है और ये खुद खर्च नहीं करता है और अपने सिस्टर एनजीओ को, जो और एक एनजीओ आपके साथ है, कुछ कोई और एरिया में काम कर रहा है, उस एनजीओ को आप अगर 1 लाख रुपए अपने उनको देते हैं, तो ये ऐसे सिनेरियो में आपके बुक्स में सिर्फ 85% का बेनिफिट मिलेगा। जिस तरह से देखिए, हमारे पास जो 80G डोनर्स आते हैं, बहुत सारे आईटी इंडिविजुअल्स, टैक्स पेयर्स, जब हमें 80G का डोनेशन देते हैं तो हम उनको क्या बोलते हैं कि आप हमें अगर 1 लाख रुपए दे रहे हैं तो हम उनको कितना बेनिफिट दे सकते हैं? 50%। याद रखिए आप, क्योंकि आप बेनिफिट जो है, जो डोनर 80G में अमाउंट देता है, उसको 100% डिडक्शन नहीं मिलता, सिर्फ 50% मिलता है। तो उसी तरह से अगर आप अपना पैसा दूसरे इदारे को दे रहे हैं, दूसरे एनजीओ को दे रहे हैं, तो आपको 100% बेनिफिट नहीं मिलेगा, सिर्फ 85% मिलेगा। ये क्यों हुआ? ये क्यों हुआ? इसलिए देखिए आप, लोगों ने क्या किया, इस लूप होल को मिसयूज किया। ये जो 15% का जो सरप्लस परमिशन, जनरल परमिशन हमारे पास है, 5-6 एनजीओ अगर खोल लेते हैं, आप 1 लाख रुपए यहाँ पे रेज करते हो, आप सेकेंड एनजीओ को दे रहे हो, फिर वो थर्ड एनजीओ को दे रहा है, वो फोर्थ एनजीओ को दे रहा है, वो फिफ्थ एनजीओ को दे रहा है, और हर एनजीओ 15% जनरल डिडक्शन क्लेम करते जा रहा है। तो अल्टीमेटली जो 1 लाख रुपए है, वो पब्लिक चैरिटेबल पर्पस के लिए जो इस्तेमाल हो रहे हैं, वो बिल्कुल एक छोटा अमाउंट रह जा रहा। तो उस चीज को कंट्रोल करने के लिए ये लिमिटेशन आया है। और हमें ये भी पता है कि ये लिमिटेशन ऑलरेडी एफसीआरए के लिए आ चुका था पहले ही। एफसीआरए फंड, इफ यू आर रिसीविंग विथ यू आर नॉट सपोज्ड टू गिव इट to another NGO. So now this is a matter of concern for financial year 23-24. How is this going to affect the CSR grants? How is it going to affect the funding of one NGO by another NGO? The local amount I'm talking about, not the FCR amount. So this needs a serious discussion with your donor partner. Okay, whoever is your partner, you need to talk to them about this. This is very important. Okay, now coming to in general, I said we are trying to connect all the dots which are there across the amendments 21, 22, etc. So what we are trying to know, this 21 amendment is not very much important because it is only saying about the concept of claiming a deficit or loss for an NGO doesn't make sense. Okay, don't say I incurred a loss. Your income and expenditure might be showing a negative amount. Okay, a deficit, it might be showing a deficit. But for income tax purpose, there is nothing called deficit. The reason being, whenever there is a deficit, it means what? What money did you use to incur the deficit? How did you overspend? You might have used your corpus. You might have used loans. Using the loan, using the corpus is not eligible as application. So income and expenditure might have something called a negative balance. But for the purpose of income tax, never say I have incurred a loss, because it is not allowed as application. So this area, the professional knows how to handle it. This has got nothing to do with the NGO, so don't worry. Now coming to 22, the next second amendment, maintenance of books of accounts. Okay, now this is important. We all know that there are books. No, why are they stressing on this? See, this amendment came, it came with a rule 17AA. Okay, that rule says, gives us a list of what kind of books are needed. So very elaborate list. Cash, bank, all that is okay. Donor details are okay. Beneficiary details are okay. But they also want us to keep a record of accumulated income. They want us to keep a record of the corpus. They want us to keep a record of investments. They want us to keep a record of source of application. How are you spending it, from where you're spending it. I'm sure, most of the NGOs are small. They simply come with an Excel sheet saying that this is what I received, this is what I've spent. And the chartered accountants are trying to, make the financial statements out of it and submit it. But now the law became very serious. They're saying when you're certifying in your audit report, you are writing there that the balance sheet, income and expenditure is in agreement with books of accounts. Which books of accounts? The one which are mentioned here, the elaborate books of accounts. Okay, and this condition is needed even at the time of registration. When we are going for 12AB registration, they are asking this point. When we want to claim Section 11 exemption, they are asking this point. And the reporting of this point is needed in the audit report. Okay, so to what extent a disclaimer will work, we have to look into it. And what if the books are not maintained? Then what is the implication? Again, the bad news is there is a tax liability arising because of this violation. If you are not maintaining the books of accounts properly as guided, then it is resulting into taxability. Okay, and for how long these books of accounts are required to be maintained? They have to be maintained for 10 years. So be careful, 10 years the books are required to be maintained. Okay, now coming to another one. This point says application on cash basis of accounting. We all know this came last year, financial year 21-22. The NGOs, whatever expenses were outstanding on 31st March, we simply said all that needs to be added back into as an application. You cannot get the benefit of application. So they are clearly telling us that for income tax basis, we want you to follow a cash basis of accounting. Okay, accrual basis of accounting is not going to help. This started in 21-22. Once again, this is important for 22-23. All the NGOs, accounts officers who are listening to this session, please watch your expenses for the month of March. If you have something outstanding, instead of creating a provision, please make it a point to clear it off, pay it off. Okay, let it hit your bank statements. Do not keep it in the BRS. Don't allow any gray area to be there. Plan your expenses for March and push all these expenses instead of keeping outstanding. This is very much needed. Otherwise, what will happen? We in the IT return, in the audit report, this gets added back. You won't get the benefit of application. This might result into taxable income also. So better be careful about this. Okay, this is very much needed. And see, I'll tell you, accounting standards, ICDS normally does not apply to an NGO. So there is nothing wrong if we follow cash basis of accounting. But if you are a Section 8 company, because the Companies Act is regulating you, then you will have to simultaneously be careful. You are preparing the accrual basis, and for the income tax, you need to have cash basis of application. So a proper framework needs to be developed instead of simply using some rough Excel sheets. These are going to help. These working papers that we are preparing, okay, all these notes to accounts tomorrow for scrutiny, all this will be needed. So how good is your software? How good is your database? Where are we capturing all these workings? The accounts versus income tax is important, highly important. Okay, now coming to 23 amendments. We all know that last 2 years, we are seeing this new concept of updated return. Okay, all the organizations and individuals who fail to file their original return. You have the time limit for original return, actual return. You did not file. Then you have another return, belated return. Okay, you did not file the belated return. The last resort is this 31st March. We know that there is one return called updated return. Okay, now NGOs were thinking that if we file updated return, we can still enjoy exemption. Here the taxman is saying, no, don't be so lazy. For you, either the original return or the belated return should help. Updated return will not give you the benefit of exemption. You will not enjoy exemption if you're filing an updated return. So this is very dangerous because you will have to see condonation. Will they entertain condonation? Is doubtful. Okay, so don't even get into it. Please file a return on time. This is needed. Okay, you won't get exemption. See, again, I'm not using the word they'll cancel your registration. Please remember, when we are talking about these compliances and its violation, it will either hit your exemption or it will take away your registration. So this one is only going to hit your exemption. You will be a registered entity. You will have 12AB, but you won't get the benefit of Section 11 exemption if you file a belated return. Same is the case with other non-compliances. Very important. The fifth one, time limit for filing forms for accumulation of income. Now, everybody, all the accounts officers of the NGOs, please listen to this point. We all know what we do. How do we do the annual closure? It's okay. We can be casual in this talk and discuss. See, when you come to us for audit, we see somewhere that the surplus is supposed to be 15% as per the law. But due to some reason, it is 20%. So immediately what suggestion we make? We say, as a professional, we guide you. We say, see, there is an extra surplus of 5%. So what we will do? We will accumulate your amount. Okay, we will file one form 10 to the assessing officer, online form. We will intimate to that officer saying that, sir, we have some surplus. Actually, we did not spend it. We are planning to use it in the future. Please allow us to accumulate it. So once you're intimating like this, that amount is deemed to be applied. Okay, or then that -5 will happen. There's no tax for us. So this accumulation, when does it happen? We all know we do it at the time of filing the return, at the time of audit. When you come to our office during September, October, that time we do this, based on the last minute adjustments. So the taxman has come, he is aware that we are doing all these last minute adjustments. So he's come with a stick now. Now, what is the stick telling? See, you want to accumulate, so better be serious about it. Okay, all these accumulations, and I don't know, some small NGOs, I don't even know if they're aware that this accumulation is happening on their portal. The CA might be doing it, last minute, even without informing or with informing. So better be careful. Okay, so if you're going with this accumulation, please remember the time limit for this accumulation is 2 months before filing the IT return. So now your form 9A and form 10 has to be online filed before 31st August. And to decide this amount and to do this, you need to close your books. So now again, a very important pointer here. Let's not wait till September, October. Let's do the annual closing as early as possible so that this form 9A, form 10, whatever is there, it goes on time on or before 31st August. Okay, now this is another important point. See how the government is going so aggressive. Okay. Yeah. Earlier, where NGOs are there, they are into the society for last 10 years. They were working, they were doing their activity, but they never went and took 12A registration. Some basic IT return was filed. Now they felt, let us go and get registered under 12A. We find a lot of benefits. CSR is there, ATG is there. Let's go and do 12A registration. So when an NGO was coming for 12A registration and its objects are good and the department is convinced and they give a 12A registration, at that point, some previous years assessments are open, earlier years. Okay, and there is some demand. So there was a provision which used to say, because this NGO right from the beginning is doing good work, it's just that they did not get registered under 12A. So now that they're getting registered, why don't we give benefit of 12A or exemption for the earlier years? So for the earlier years, wherever the assessments are open and there is a demand, a retrospective benefit was there. Now the law is saying you don't need such retrospective benefit. This provision earlier was a welcome provision. Many NGOs used to hesitate. If we go for 12A, what if the government will start digging the earlier years and start taking and asking money from us? So this was a welcome move. We gave them a comfort. No, you please come join the mainstream of 12A. We won't trouble you for the earlier years. We will give you some benefit. But now the law is saying, if you are getting registered now for under 12A, This is going to be prospective. We won't help you for the past. If there is a demand, pay it. If there is a surplus, there is tax on it. So this is important. We have to analyze the implication. You know, when the NGO is coming for 12AB registration, simply filing form 10A or 10AB without analyzing the impact of all this for the previous years is not correct. Because during the hearing, there are high chances that they will say, clear your previous taxes and all that. So this is important again. So discuss with the NGO. Okay, now another important move. Provisional registration no longer permissible once activities are commenced. Okay, so for 21-22, we all saw that we were filing provisional registration and repeating the work. The client was not having a provisional registration, or they didn't have any registration. We did a provisional registration for them, for the NGO. Then again, we filed one more form, Form 10AB, to convert that provisional into regular, where we attended the hearing and we convinced the department about the charitable work. So there was duplication of work. This amendment says from this year, from 23 onwards, from this October onwards, October 23, this duplication of work, we will cut it down. So if an NGO is coming to you and saying that we've already commenced the activity, okay, then don't go for provisional, directly fill that form 10AB. Wait for 6 months, go for hearing, attend the hearing, convince the department and take your regular registration for 5 years. System generated registration, then converting, no, that is not going to be the scenario. So this is a good welcome move. They are reducing the double work for us. Okay, now another important point here. Giving false or incomplete information. And at the time of filling form 10A, if there is a mistake or incomplete information, but the system has already given you 10AC order, you already got a 12A order, this amendment says such order can be cancelled. The CIT has power to cancel it. So even if there is a bona fide mistake, there are chances that this provision will cancel your 12AB. Now, very, very important, the 9th point. Please understand the significance of this point. Everybody were in a hurry in 21-22 to register the old NGOs who were already having 12A. People were doing online application for new NGOs. You know, government is giving it, 12A is coming, URN is easily coming without any questioning, it is coming. Just fill up a form. Within a week, you're getting an order. This is what we did. Now the law says, in spite of all that, there are some gaps. Some old NGOs did not re-register. Some NGOs who got provisional registration did not convert it into regular registration. Okay, in this scenario, your registration gets expired. Okay, you were supposed to convert your provisional to regular within 6 months of commencement of activity. But people are thinking, they're under the impression that let's wait for 3 years and then go. 3 years is not for you. You were supposed to convert it within 6 months of commencement of activity. So if you have failed to convert your provisional to regular, that registration stands cancelled. Okay, and what is the implication? There is exit tax on you. Okay, 115 TD will hit you. So we have to sit and find out how many such files are there who are having provisional registration, but they have failed to convert it into regular registration. So we have to see if there is any possibility by March, this gap can be filled. This is important. Otherwise, for that NGO, there is a huge exit tax waiting for them. So this is one important thing. Now coming to another important area, the crux of our discussion. Extensive powers of cancellation. Again, this is an amendment of 22. Why are we discussing? Because your audit report for 22-23 is going to work as a tool for the officer to use this power. Okay, see, budget 22 gave the power to the officer, and we were thinking, okay, such high powers, how is the officer going to use these powers? So they have developed that audit report. That audit report is a tool for them to use this power and exercise this power. So look at this now. The Commissioner of Income Tax shall have extensive power to cancel the registration against various specified violations. income applied for purpose other than objects. Okay, the objects are something else. And here, very important, see, when we use the word object, I think I missed to tell you, when we are doing inter-charity donation, we are supposed to see the donee entity, whether it is also having the same object or not. The donee entity, whether it is having twelve or not. You are simply doing an inter-charity with unlike objects, then this is the problem. And this is getting reported in the audit report. So be careful. Are you spending money? So many people drafted the trust deed, the bylaws long back, decades back. Their objects are something else, but right now the spending is something else. So this is a specified violation. Income from non-incidental business. Now this is a very scary thing. Some landmark judgments have come on this area. Again, the government is saying you have to put your business into different buckets. Okay, one is your main business. You are running a hospital, you're collecting fees from the patient. That is the main business. You're running a school, you're taking fees from the student, main business. Incidental to the main object. Non-incidental business, nothing to do with the object. Totally something, some alien activity you're doing. Or second one, incidental to the business. That means along with the school, you're selling some books, you're selling some shoes. So they're saying main business, incidental business, non-incidental business, and a business undertaking which was given to you as a property held under trust. That is one more thing. So many different buckets are there. Each thing requires an understanding. What is the books of accounts required? What is the reporting required? The 20% cap, business receipts should not cross 20% of the gross receipts. That cap is hitting which business? Okay, how all this needs to be reported? Which business is enjoying exemption? Which business is subject to taxability? We need to understand. And here they're talking about cancellation of registration if the business is not incidental at all. So this is a very gray and subjective matter. So all the NGOs have to go talk to your professional about what kind of business are you doing, and you need to connect the gap and find out, is it incidental, main, or something else. And separate books are needed, separate reporting is needed. So just be careful with this. Okay, then applied for the benefit of any particular religious community or caste. Okay, this is another important point. See, when we are reading the trust deed or the bylaws, we are finding this point that the activities of the organization will apply to each and every religion, irrespective of caste, creed, religion. This is what we read. That's the theory. But how many of us are going and checking the beneficiary records and trying to find out whether in the list of beneficiary, is it only from one religion or it is from all religion? This is again important. This also we are reporting in the audit report. See, look at it. They expect the auditor to go and check the religion of the beneficiary. Activities are not genuine. Now, this is such a gray area. We have to certify whether activities are genuine or not in the audit report. And based on that, this officer is going to take some action and cancel. Activities are not according to the registration condition. Now, this is another catchy point. All of you, please remember, activities not according to registration condition. Where is this condition? You have to open your 10 AC order and you have to see the conditions there. There they are saying at the time of making an application, your office, registered office address was Hyderabad. Okay, but later on, you are moving to Medak or some other area. You are supposed to intimate the department. Okay, you were using one bank account, you started adding another bank account. They want you to intimate to the department. And these comments are changing year after year. If you pick up the 10 AC order of 21-22, it was very brief. Now the new orders which are coming up with new points which are not even there in the act and the rules. It is there in the order. So they're saying those points, if you don't listen to, we will cancel. So these are very important areas. And if there is non-compliance with other laws, look at this now. I understand that most of the NGOs are still not understanding the seriousness of other laws. They feel only income tax is the only law which we have to comply with, or FCRA is the only law which we have to comply with. So many NGOs are failing to submit their annual accounts to the registrar of society. Please start doing it. For some NGOs, it is mandatory to be registered under the charity commissioners of that state, like Maharashtra Charity Commissioner, AP Charity Commissioner. So register it. Comply with your PT, with the state government. There is a professional tax compliance, do it. Labor compliances, do it. TDS compliances, do it. Okay, so they are asking us if there is any non-compliance with other law. And this schedule is once again in the audit report. They want us to write there as a CA whether this particular NGO is complying with all the other laws or not. Gratuity laws, provident fund, ESI, PT, everything. And if it's a school or medical, that means you're supposed to comply with so many environmental laws, medical laws. So we have to understand that aspect also. So the scope is huge. And cancellation proceeding will be initiated if these violations are there. And this can be initiated by the assessing officer. He will inform to the commissioner saying that this particular file, it looks fishy to me, and please cancel it. And what is the base for them to take a decision? Our audit report. So see, very, very serious. Okay, now coming back again, we wanted to, I was telling you again and again, based on the violations, different kind of tax rates are there. Method of taxation. So we need to do some homework. All of us be prepared. This is an evolving subject. Trust and charity compliances is not an easy subject. Read to understand and get a grip on it. Otherwise, we will not be able to give justice to this work. Okay, and when you're reading it, just reading the act is not sufficient. You should go back and see what is the intention of the CBDT. This intention is reflected in the forms. So if you see the ITR form, you know, it's like guiding tool for us. What is the intention of the lawmaker? How do they want to tax that particular violation? Where is it falling? Under which schedule it is falling? So there is nothing wrong. The new ITR 7 for this financial year 22-23 has not come, but the ITR 7 21-22 can be easily used by us. It was a very advanced ITR 7 which we had seen last year. Okay, you can keep that as a base. You can keep this audit report as a base, and then start reading the act and then trying to understand my particular violation is falling under which category. Okay, so like here, there is a new section which came last year, 115 BBI, which is going to tax straight 30%. You won't get any benefit of deduction. The gross violation will be taxed at 30%. Okay, what kind of violations are there? It's listed here. You know, you accumulated money, you did not use it. Okay, you have a small surplus after all the accumulations, 150,000, 10,000, some surplus is there, which you did not accumulate. You want to offer it for taxation. It's a small amount. 30% is the tax. Okay, you have used the assets of the organization, or you did a transaction with a related party. It's a violation, 30% tax. You did not keep the corpus amount in the modes specified by 11.5. Okay, as Shabir sir had rightly said, we prepared a small FAQ kind of thing for this 11.5 and what is the scope, can we invest in mutual funds and all that. So we will be happy to share the document to all of you on the registered email ID so that you get an idea where to keep the money. Okay, 11.5 is a serious compliance. If you're violating it to the extent of violation, that amount which is not in 11.5 is getting taxed at 30%. Okay, then if you spend money outside India, the earthquake outside India, without taking permission from the government, 30% tax on that earthquake relief done by you. Okay, better be careful. This is one thing. Now there's another section. Okay, this section says 1310. 1310 is saying these are small mistakes, you know, not big mistakes, small mistakes. So we want to tax you. Of course, the rate more or less will be 30% rate only, but we will give you the benefit of deduction. The previous section 30% was like on the gross, no benefit of deduction, straight 30%. But here for the small mistakes done by the NGOs, they want to tax you at normal rates, not at 30%. And also they want to give you the benefit of deductions, you know, expenses, whatever are there, you can simply subtract it. Otherwise, till last year, we have seen whenever there is a violation, CPC happily taking gross receipt and putting tax on it and sending a demand to us. Now this section says, no, that's not the way you do it. You have to subtract all the expenses subject to certain conditions. On the net amount, there will be tax. So what kind of small mistakes are these? Unlike, see, these earlier mistakes were big mistakes, so straight 30%. These are small mistakes. Small mistakes like, I'm doing a small business, but unfortunately the percentage of my business receipts just to cross 20%, 21, 22. So what? No, I didn't do a big mistake. So they're saying, okay, for this we will tax you. Not maintaining books as required, not getting it audited, not filing the return. Okay, and some of them are interconnected. This may also lead to your, denial of exemption and resulting to cancellation also. Not just this. Please remember, you have to connect all of them. I am doing a violation here. It is getting taxed here. So it doesn't mean the government is encouraging you to do the violation. It only means that this violation should be read with denial of exemption and cancellation. But when we want to tax you, how much tax we will take is like this. We will give you the benefit of deduction. All expenses, revenue expenses will be allowed, provided you comply with the provisions of TDS, cash, etc. So we will give you some deduction and we will tax you. But read the other law also. Okay, so that was it. And then coming to, I said at the end, we will run through these clauses, 10B and 10BB. You can see this PPT again will be shared with you on your email ID so that you can understand the scope of 10B and the scope of 10BB. We have put a red mark, crossed it, which means for the smaller NGOs where we are using the second audit report, some of the clauses are not applicable and some of the schedules are not applicable. But if you quickly run through, see here they're asking, is there a business? And very elaborate. I mean, entire provisions of this NGOs have been listed out here. And this requires a clause by clause analysis. And if you come to some conclusion, put pen on paper, write it, document it, and keep it, what you're going to do. Okay, so application of income, 115 BBE. Okay, yes, now look at it. Here they're asking about business. They're asking about the registration, all the NGOs, whether you are correctly registered, whether you have converted your provisional registration to regular or not. Okay, what is the date of commencement of your activity? They're asking that. Where are the books of accounts kept? Are you doing a business? What is the nature of business? Whether books are there for the business. Your business, they're trying to assess from the TDS that people are deducting for you. A big, very big detailed schedule is there for voluntary contribution. Okay, they want us to do one-page working, keeping in mind all the provisions. If you go and see that schedule, it's a huge schedule, trying to address each and everything. It is connecting anonymous donations. It is connecting 10BD. Last year, we've been guiding the NGOs, get serious about donor KYC. You need to maintain the record of donor. Okay, if you fail to do that, it may get taxed. And this is what is happening. Now, 22-23, the biggest homework for our NGOs is, how are you going to address the anonymous donation? How are you going to fill your 10BD form? Because last year it was your declaration. Now we have to certify. So when we have to certify, it has to be correct. So are we prepared to offer that huge donation that we got without KYC? Are we going to get it taxed? What are we going to do? So big working is needed for voluntary contribution, for income to be applied, for application of income. And this section that we read, 115 BBI, okay, all the violations are listed out in detail. And then very much needed next important schedule is, they want us to write that amount which is spent, how much is from the cash book and how much is from the bank book. We all have is that income and expenditure where total amount spent on education is 1 crore. But they're saying out of that 1 crore, how much is spent in cash and how much is spent through bank? How are we going to do that working? High value transactions, more than 50 lakhs. Then specified transactions. Religious purpose, which community the beneficiaries are from, we are supposed to report it there. Violations, which we just discussed, big schedule for that. And send details of corpus, details of foreign contribution, details of loans, details of income applied outside, deemed application, 10 schedules on related party transactions. We've seen a case where, based on the fixed asset register, the department asked, where is this fixed asset? The accountant said it is in the house of chief functionary, one fridge. Okay, this was enough for the department to initiate cancellation proceedings saying that there is a related party transaction. So horrible these provisions are. Violation under other laws, TDS, cash, the details of loans, 269 SS, 269 T, repayment of loan, schedules of TDS, TCS, statements, interest, everything. I am telling you, in my capacity, if I sit on this audit report, maybe I might spend easily 1 week doing it. So how do you think we will be able to do it in those 2-3 months for audit season? So this is a new workload which has come, a new scope which has come. So all of us have to sit and discuss the seriousness of this. Okay, because of the time constraint, I had to rush a little bit, but I am telling you, I am sharing the email ID and phone number, not to solicit the client. Please remember, this webinar is purely for educational purpose. You can write your queries also to me. We have 10 minutes. We can take some questions. I think over to you, Shabbir sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Karishma. It has been very exhaustive kind of explanation that you have given. At the same time, I should also say that very, very technical, especially for a person like me also, who is a finance person. I don't know how it is good, how it is being, accepted or digested by the people who are non-finance people, especially the NGO kind of executives who are there. Having said that, we've got only 10 minutes, but before I think questions, we will take it. I suggest that you share your WhatsApp number. People can send their queries and questions. You can answer them. I'm sure you will take some time to answer them. Yes. I would like to quickly summarize what I have understood so that people get an idea as to some kind of an idea as to what they should be doing. What I understand is there are two forms. One is Form 10A, 10B, and 10BB. 10B is for people who have got above 5 crores kind of corpus, or FCRA who are getting an FCRA, or people who are taking income from outside India. The number of clauses which were there have increased from 16 to 32 and 49. Number of schedules have increased from 1 to 6 or 29. So do not wait, start your work today itself. That is one message that I've got. The other is a corpus. The corpus 15% surplus goes as corpus for the following year. So that means it's not exempted. So it is essential that that 15% corpus is being maintained and you do not exceed that. And that 15% corpus, let me be a little selfish in saying that we are looking for that 15% corpus to be invested in ethical investments. And we can give you windows and opportunities for that, because I see that the investment from the NGOs in this particular area is nil or minimal. The second is that you need to have different buckets for different corpuses. Now that understanding itself is difficult. So it means that the NGO executives have to sit, discuss this, not within the organization itself, but with the chartered accountants. The time limit, if you have taken a loan, there's a time limit for applying. If you do not apply within the time, there is a penalty. There could be two ways. One could be a penalty, the other could be a tax. A penalty is nothing but, again, a tax. Probably the tax has got a limit of 30%, but the penalty, there's no limit. That's how I look at it. Donations. Donations should come in the same year, cannot go as donations to another NGO. If the donation is going to another NGO, then it has to have the same objects. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, definitely.
Books of accounts have to be maintained for 10 years. I thought it was 7 years, but now what I hear from you is 10 years. That
yes,
we need to keep a record of it.
Yes,
application to avoid any provisions, but to make the payments within the same year and not keep as a provision for any expenses which are made in the current year to follow it in the next year. Next, late filing of return there is a chance for denial of exemption, even cancellation of the exemption. Denial of exemption means, does it mean that denial of exemption means taxation?
Yes, sir. Denial of exemption means taxation, and in some violations, denial of exemption comes with cancellation also. So you will get both the implications. Your registration is also getting cancelled, and for that year, exemption is also not there. And for the net worth which is sitting in your balance sheet, there is an exit tax also. So they are cancelling you, they are denying exemption, and on the net assets, they are taking tax from you.
Okay, then giving false or incorrect information attracts cancellation or raise of reservation.
Yes, sir.
Donor and donee should have similar objects. I don't know how many organizations do, especially organization NGOs who've got multiple kind of an NGOs, one for a particular purpose, the other is for has got a different objects, but they keep transferring the funds from one NGO to another. Now that's also a danger point. Probably you need to have a clear objective. And second learning that I have is whatever funds you get in the year, as far as possible, you should see that it is applied in the same year and not look for what you call that carry forward.
Yes, sir.
Is that what you are getting back into the house, don't take money from outside. That is how it's self-dependent.
Yeah.
The most dangerous part of it, or the most gray area, which I find, especially for our community, which I can say is what I can pick out is applying income for benefit of any particular religious community or caste. How are they going to assess that? For example, if I'm giving some donation to some kind of a home for the blind, home for the aged, which is general, is there a percentage of what we need to give it to the non-community people? And how do they assess it? If you can answer that, because that's a very serious kind of a thing that I look into it, where most of the NGOs which are there, they get a permission to say that it is a religious kind of a charitable organization or the same, but how are they going to apply that?
Yes, sir.
Then open 10AC form order. That's a very crucial thing. Open 10AC form order and then check out for yourself, do your homework.
Yes, sir.
On compliance with the other laws. It could be as simple as getting a municipal permission or a labor law permission. I don't know, professional tax is also there. If you do not have a professional tax payment, I'm sure it will be there because his employees are there. You need to have a professional tax registration, what do you call that, labor registration if you don't have. Because of a small thing, the whole license gets into the state. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Now, all this means compliance cost will go up. Whether it is worth doing this registration and doing, or do you think people go back to unregistered kind of an activity? I don't know what it is. But can you just summarize and give me, especially for this one particular point, which I have in mind about this particular religious community or caste?
Yes, sir. Yeah. So if it is a religious trust, registered as a religious trust under 12A without any ATG, then you are addressing to a particular religion. Nobody is stopping you from that. But when you're registered as a charitable trust and you have ATG, then your beneficiary should be from all religions, irrespective of caste, creed. Now, how do we decide the percentage? The mix should be at least 5%. I feel I think other seniors can also give. I have to check this number that if it is 100 beneficiaries, out of 100, if 5% of them are from another religion and the rest are from one religion, will it be satisfactory? This is one thing we'll have to check on it. And coming to your other points, what you said is right, sir. And we have some questions here in the chat box. I felt some of them are relevant. Like one question is, can an NGO invest in private limited company? Okay, when we are talking about 11.5 is talking about listed equity and mutual funds and other safe things like FD, government securities, immobile property. But clearly, private limited company NGO cannot invest. This is a restriction under 11.5, and not even a Section 8 company. You're saying one NGO wants to invest in another Section 8 company. No, it is not 11.5. Okay, just be careful about this. And we have some questions like what should be the breakup of amount spent on charitable objects and how much can be an admin. See, actually this demarcation is not there in income tax law, but what we learned from FCRA says that 80% of your amount should be spent on objects and 20% can be towards administrative. So I think we can go with that ratio. 80-20 should be reasonable. And then we have another question which is saying that what about cash collection from a donor? Once again, that 10B audit report which we are talking about, the schedule which is there, they want us to prepare one big statement. How much is cash donation received? How much is through bank? How much is in kind? How much is reported in 10BD? How much is anonymous? So line by line items are there. So we have to go through all that. So the law remains the same. From one person, you cannot take, in cash at any point of time, more than 2,000 cannot be taken. Okay. And then there's another question on capital expenditure for a financial year. See, in charities, there is no demarcation between revenue expenditure expenditure and capital expenditure. They're saying that 85% which needs to be spent can be both capital and revenue. All that they want to tell you is your corpus should be there in 11.5. That you take care. Okay, for project cost, for project expenses, we have to incur capital expenses as well as revenue expenses. Everything is treated as application.
A line of caution here, what I can say is that most of the organizations or NGOs which are registered under charitable as a charitable trust, and they're doing some religious activities, they need to be very careful and then either change the classification or look into it before some penalties can come back. That's what I find.
Yes, sir.
If there's anything else that you would like to, can you give your closing message, Karishma?
Yes, sir. As I told you, I think all of us, the accounts department, especially of every NGO, should take the initiative first. They have to list out, keeping in mind this revised audit report, they have to start writing down what are the pain points that they have. They should take appointment with their professional as early as possible and go and discuss the legal risk that they are carrying. That is important. And this March, okay, this March, we should not miss it. Pay all our expenses. Don't keep anything outstanding, and by August ensure that your filing of form 9A and form 10 is taken care. Okay, this is a matter of caution. And additionally, all those who are holding provisional registration, just see if you have tried to convert it into regular or not. Try to do it by this March. I think this is what I would like to conclude. And I once again I would apologize for being so technical. I have a mixed
I understand. You have done a good job. You have done a good job by covering most of it, and then your preparation, the slides and the presentation that you have made. When we circulate it, it should be very helpful, not only to the NGOs, but to the professions too.
Yes, sir.
I will now close with a request to say that you can consider Sensei Edge, for any advice on the investment of that 15% corpus. 1, 2, any corrections, any advice that you require, we can be able to coordinate with Karishma. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very
Definitely.
much. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. And we are open for taking questions through the phone number, through the email ID. We would like to. Yes. Right now, no, sir. We have only 2 minutes.
Yeah. So what you can do is, Karishma, you can share your number, WhatsApp number, so that people can send their queries. You can take your time and then respond to them. And if my number is 9949090786. I'll repeat, 9949090786. Karishma, you can share your number.
Yes, sir. No, sir, repeat your number. We'll share it in the chat box.
Okay. My number is 9949090786. Here it goes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, and thanks all the participants for such a good participation and response. We would definitely try to keep it next time more interactive, more two-way. It was more like one-way marathon talk, because the subject was so much and so much to convey. It is just a trailer for you to trigger, so that we don't postpone our learning, don't postpone our work. So I think we've tried to do our best. Thank you so much for this participation.
And please do send your feedback on the WhatsApp numbers, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah.